standing outside of my judo club right now in San Jose, California, where one of the biggest names on the scene right now is gonna come teach me and my classmates what you might call some unconventional judo. Oh, and I should probably take this off because that's from jiu-jitsu. That's better. Justin Flores, also known as JFlo, is one of the top names on the judo scene right now. Having also wrestled and trained jiu-jitsu, he is known not only for his unique blend of styles, but also as a coach for some very high-level athletes. JFlo was one of my first inspirations who I followed along with as I restarted my jiu-jitsu journey back in 2020. So I don't want to miss this opportunity. All right, so we are on the way to CJ Judo right now. I've been dealing with a grade 2 AC joint separation that I got at a BJJ tournament, and I started listening to a lot of audiobooks. Most of them have been about this thing called the ecological approach. It's a type of like learning method, and I actually just recently made a video on the ecological approach. I'm making another video about the ecological approach, so when I get here today I actually want to interview Chuck to see if it's used at all in judo. But regarding the actual seminar, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do anything. Like, I still don't even know if I can break fall, but that's assuming that I can even find a partner that wants to drill with the injured guy. I wonder how tall he is. Like Shakira, for example, she looks giant on stage. Ooh, I think we are here. Yeah, buddy. All right, let's go meet JFlo. Luckily, when I arrived, a few jiu-jitsu friends were there. I was still trying to figure out, though, who would be willing to be my partner when Eric showed up. Where's your black belt, Eric?
On the floor, crumpled up.
Eric is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who's recently devoted his entire life to practice judo. Coffee just for you, man. My main question is, are you going to be in the cripple corner today?
Cripple corner? Yeah. I can be in the cripple corner.
Because I am still in the cripple corner.
That's fine.
There's a handful of them.
I'm in the cripple corner.
Just go across or...
Eric also hurt his shoulder, so we would be in good company with each other. Relieved that I now had a partner, I turned around and noticed the man himself. I was surprised to see he might actually be around my height. I'm a meager 5'8", which reminds me of a supportive message a friend sent me when my injury first struck. If a black belt who has the same body type and weight as you is in your body, then you would still be a black belt because of the techniques he knows, right? You would still be able to execute them. That tells me that a large majority of it comes down to just knowledge. I was surprised that JFlo was also dealing with some nagging injuries, but he was still there to help us train. I guess that's just how the game goes no matter who you are. Before the seminar started, I asked Chuck briefly if he'd heard of the ecological approach, which he hadn't, but he did say he's come across plenty of people who've tried to come up with the latest and greatest way to teach something. Oh well, it was time for the seminar to start.
This is a special day for us.
So I just want to come and show some of the stuff that maybe might be a little unconventional today.
Unconventional is what I like. Watching him demonstrate the first move, I was a bit nervous since I hadn't done a break fall in a few weeks. The last thing I wanted to do is re-injure myself before a bunch of major competitions I have coming up.
All right, let's try it on 3. 1, 2, 3.
So you think you wanted to...
Yeah, that's fine. Game on. As long as nothing went wrong during the falls, I'd at least be able to do something. I think my level of worry was higher than the actual level of injury, but that's just me trying to make sure I get back to 100%. We hit our first break for JFlo to fix the way people were sitting out, which required a bit of flexibility, but he also gave us an option that required less, and then we got back to it. The mats were packed, which meant that people were going to bump into each other. But hey, I guess that's a good problem to have, right? We then broke for the second move.
I want everyone to be able to be like okay to just do a somersault rather than like an ukemi. Okay? I don't want anyone hitting their heads. So that's like a good time to like find that.
Oof. That looked like something super risky for me to try. I was having flashbacks already to the med table. Everyone began practicing. Eric let me try the move on him, and he said he wanted to try just the gripping setup, but that he'd go back to just doing the first move so that I didn't have to risk that more dynamic ukemi. Eric was being a great partner, but I felt a bit guilty that he couldn't practice all the moves with me. At this point, Eric and I were starting to get more comfortable and in the groove with the techniques. Not bad for a couple white belts. At least it looks cool on camera. We took a second for JFlo to make some adjustments again, and then we called him over to ask a question we'd encountered during the drilling.
So are you lefty?
People have been telling me to do my judo stance as lefty. I was giving a long-winded answer as to whether I was a lefty or not because it became a whole thing I was trying to figure out after I made a video about my first real judo randori. Anyway, back to our original question. In jiu-jitsu, we end up in a lot of standing engagements where we just grab each other's sleeves and stall out. So I asked JFlo if the cross sleeve grip he showed for this move was also useful in that scenario. This was a light bulb moment for me, that I could cross my grip, and definitely something I'd be taking away from this seminar with me. See, despite being injured, there definitely was some benefit to being here. We then broke for the third move.
Good. I'm gonna run, I'm gonna pivot, be kind of like dynamic.
Eric and I started drilling this, but I was worried the whole time that I was doing something more like a bad Tani Atoshi, which was freaking me out because of a conversation I had with Brandon over Instagram DMs. Eric wasn't doing anything too intense, but I was worried about my leg too. Eric said he didn't feel his leg was threatened since I wasn't falling at the knee, and he was right, but just like I suspected, JFlo came over and corrected us, saying it was indeed more like a Tani Atoshi and we needed to throw a bit differently.
Watch this big pivoting step.
JFlo also gave Eric some tips on how to think about it and related it back to a kataguruma, which Eric has been practicing lately. We broke and I was expecting JFlo to go into the next move, when suddenly he started asking people if they wanted to come demo their moves in front of the class. I was nervous, about to raise my hand, but hesitated. JFlo called on a different pair first. I knew I had to get up there for the chance to get fixed by one of the best coaches out there, so right when they finished, my hand shot up, and JFlo called me out. I began setting up the move from earlier with the cross grip, which felt most natural to me.
High degree of difficulty. Not bad at all.
Now it was Eric's turn.
Like, I would like, with this technique especially, rather than, which is kind of like jiu-jitsu meta, how to fold, kind of like over a foot down to your butt, right? If we're doing this move right, it should be more of like an ukemi. So, you see how that ukemi happened? Let's go through.
Next up was JFlo's Yoko Tomoe Nagi, another throw we see in jiu-jitsu. This one felt pretty comfortable since the starting position feels like a guard pull. Eric initially had some issues with his shoulder too, but adapted to it so it wouldn't hurt. As we were getting the hang of it, Peter came a little close and I was worried I'd hit the camera.
He's coming right at you, Peter.
The mat was crowded, so we had to pay attention to our space. We were feeling it, and Peter came in for a cool close-up when suddenly... Oops. Well, now I was the proud owner of a tilt shift lens. We broke briefly for JFlo to give us all some
I'm
tips.
gonna lift my hands. So it's...
Everyone tried it out a bit more, and then we broke for yet another move.
You see that pivot to rotate that same step? I do my loop move, I pick up, I roll.
This one seemed a bit tricky, but it actually felt pretty natural to me. Eric was having a little trouble figuring out the footwork and angles, but he was getting there. Then JFlo came in.
Okay. Nice. Okay. I think that's an important thing in all ukemi, break fall. Yeah, now grip him back wherever. Yes, right there. Good. Nice. And then when you come in, boom. So it's like opposites there. It's like down and up, down and up. Like a towel.
Now it was time for the final move.
Right? So he hits that, I stuff it, I rotate, I step over.
What would you even call that?
Skashi, step over, stretching.
I'd only remembered this name because Chuck had explained it to me at his Uchimata class. This one was cool, but I was worried again about falling on my shoulder, so we took this one kind of easy. Saria joined in a little too to help with some instruction. I also learned that this grip on the ribs is illegal in judo. Well, if you hold it there and try to stall.
Oh, you're not
Which is what he was saying, so you can't hold this grip forever.
With all the moves done, it was time to move into the Q&A. JFlo answered a lot of questions, but I thought some of what he said about injuries and judo and jiu-jitsu were particularly apt.
And I try and like be relaxed. I try not to overexert. If someone squeezes, I'm not squeezing back. I'm trying to move around. It's like these concepts I try and like implore when I move. As it's getting harder and harder because I'm getting older and older.
Yeah, this is a little more jiu-jitsu specific, but assuming a jiu-jitsu guy stands up with you, how much are you changing your judo for that?
A lot. Because there's like no rules. It's like jiu-jitsu guy. It's like let's just jump and wrap my legs around you, or sit on your leg, or just like, there's so many more variables. So I like to like think of every jiu-jitsu player as their power hand is their right hand. If I could kill their right hand, they probably don't have. It's just like what I don't know what to do, So that's my first goal against most jiu-jitsu guys. So it's like whatever the right hand is, I own it. And then from there, they'll do something dumb, usually, as far as like, capitalize. But if I'm not going to stand up and be like, all right, let's do a blast Uchimata, because they'll just sit on my leg, it's like, it's the Wild West. So, and that's something that I'm taking upon myself to like, change the meta a little bit, like incorporate safe takedowns and have that like be something where jiu-jitsu grows as well, not just like here's judo is better.
As JFlo was answering the question, he mentioned something completely out of the blue.
You're grip fighting on one foot, or you're understanding, one person's offense, one person's defense. If we're doing this kind of like, I hate to say it, but this ecological approach where it's more like good time, fun, there's a winner and a loser, but it's not the end of the world because we're not getting hurt. I think that's like the way of the future as far as like how to get people to keep involved and make it simulated fights, but in a safe way where you're getting a skill at the same time.
I was stunned. I knew I had to ask him more after the seminar was over. We wrapped up and I found JFlo to ask him two things. One, am I actually a lefty? And two, how is the ecological approach used in judo?
Do I need to switch my stance or do I switch my
Do you have an MMA career, buddy?
No.
Okay, so I would say, how old are you?
31.
To be righty. If you're righty, be a yeah.
Okay.
It's not gonna.
It feels so weird because I can't move like that. Like I move.
Well, then you have to like have an identity crisis, a little bit, and like get thrown a lot. Because if you're gonna lead with your left foot but have a right grip, oh my God, bro.
This is what I do in jiu-jitsu.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for like judo, right? Like you have no way of stopping me. So like you're gonna have to either be a righty. Oh yeah, now I can't. I don't have access to turning because you have the inside grip. Your leg is far away. Now if you're a lefty. But to have throws, can you use your left foot well? Like can you use it like understanding where it goes? Like, do you have like good like understanding?
I actually have my foot sweeps already.
Oh, Flores, so you're righty, bro. Just be right-footed.
Is this a thing in judo at all, like this ecological stuff?
No, but in wrestling it is, and I used a lot of that to create judo games, goals, like whoever gets the inside grip wins, go.
Okay.
These things that, aren't, like, I didn't make them up, they're like judo meta.
Right.
But it works into that same framework, but you still have to learn moves.
Right.
In jiu-jitsu, it's a little more cookie cutter on the ground. There's not as much, like, quick twitch stuff happening.
Yeah.
So there's more variables on your feet. So it's harder to contain those variables with like the ecological approach. You have to learn like actual movements that are rehearsed in a way that's like becomes a staple of your pattern rather than like let's just get to this position and your goal is to just get behind them or whatever. That's being broad, but that's kind of the basis.
Right.
So it's a little bit more meticulous and redundant training in judo that's necessary to build the twitches to then do the ecological approach rather than just like do that like you can't even dance yet. You need to learn how to like twitch.
Patterns, right?
Yes, like those things those are like instincts that are built and you have to redundantly train them, otherwise you're going to be late, and if you're late it's too late.
Later on, I actually interviewed Greg Souders, who's spearheading the ecological approach, and he responded to my interpretation of JFlo's answer here. If you want to see that, the link is in the description. I'm glad I took the risk of attending the seminar because despite the obstacles, I was still able to learn a few key things. I got to meet one of my OG jiu-jitsu and judo inspirations, resolved my stance dilemma for now, I think. I learned some techniques applicable to BJJ, and there was a bit of serendipity at play here too when JFlo mentioned the ecological approach. Seizing opportunities seems to always reinforce the benefits of doing so, and even the smallest victories highlight the utility of perseverance in the face of adversity. It reminds me of some of those sayings like, success is where preparation and opportunity meet, or the harder I work, the luckier I get, and fortune favors the bold. Well, you get it. Thanks for watching, and if you liked this video, you might also like this video where I did my first ever judo randori at one of the biggest judo open mats I had ever seen.